Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And this is the final phase of creating and building a Python-based web app on Docker container using a Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. So we are moving ahead as per this flowchart. And lastly, we have designed a CI/CD pipeline with all these three stages: clone stage, build stage, and deploy stage. Let's go to the Jenkins console and discuss some of the loopholes that are currently present inside this pipeline. So I am on the Jenkins pipeline configuration page, and this is the pipeline script that we have written. So Jenkins will first clone the GitHub repository from this link, and then it will try to build an image from the Docker file that is present inside that repository. So like after one build, Jenkins might get an error while doing the second build for the second time that image with this tag already exists. So to resolve this issue, we can basically make use of Docker Hub. Docker Hub is a portal where all the images are stored remotely and can be accessed over internet. So we will basically have to provide the credentials of the Docker Hub to Jenkins, and Jenkins will connect with it to push the image that we have built using this command, and then update the Docker Hub with that latest image. After configuring that, we will use docker compose command to pull the latest image and spin up a container for us. And then uh, the, now there is one more point that I want to discuss. In this step, suppose one build has happened and container with C5 name has already been created. Now, in the next build, Jenkins will try to create a container with the same name again, and it will throw an error. So to resolve this, we will use Docker Compose. Docker Compose is basically a command line utility where we don't need to specify any container name. It will automatically pick up the image and port that we specify in the YAML file, and it will spin up a container. We will have to go to the dashboard, click on Manage Jenkins, and we will have to go to Credentials, go to the System Credentials, and we have to configure a global credential. Click on Add Credentials. You need to specify, okay, so here you see the scope first, right? So scope can be global in this case, and we need to specify the username and password of the Docker Hub portal, and we need to give an ID by which these credentials will be identified. So I will provide the username for my Docker Hub and the password. We can keep the ID as Docker creds, and we can click on create. Good. So we have configured the credentials for Jenkins. Now let's head back to dashboard and click on test pipeline. Click on configure pipeline, and we are back on our script. So we have configured Jenkins to use the credentials for Docker Hub. Now it's time to provide the commands that are required to build the image and push it to the Docker Hub portal. So for that, I have these set of commands ready here. We can quickly discuss this. So in this is a simple bash command where we are giving with credentials and we are passing an array to it. So username, password, under that we are specifying the credentials ID, the password variable, and the username password. So credentials ID is the credential ID that we gave just now inside our credentials tab. So you need to specify the same ID here, and this is just an identifier for the password of the Docker Hub. So you can give it as any, and this is the identifier for Docker username, basically Docker Hub username. So you can keep it like this. And so these are basically, these can be any words. You can configure it according to you. And this is the credential ID which you need to keep same as you have given inside that configuration page while configuring the credentials. Now in this command, basically we are tagging the image named my app with this tag. So $environment.docker hub user. This is this is referring to basically the username, and then we are specifying the image name and the latest tag. Latest tag specifies that we need to tag the image as the latest, and this can be anything like 1.1, 1.2, but latest specifies that it is going to be the latest version of the Docker image, and this is what we require. In the next command, we are logging into the Docker Hub portal with the credentials that we specify. So we have tagged, so Jenkins has tagged the image. After that, it will try to log into the Docker Hub portal, and then it will finally push the image with this command, and it will tag the image with the data specified here. Okay, so let's just copy this. So we have copied that code, and we will come to the Docker console, the Jenkins console, and we need to paste that code here. So as you see, uh, this part is configured, and I think we are good with this. Okay, let's move to the next stage, which is spinning up the container. So as I said, we will use Docker Compose to spin up the container and spin down the older container. Okay, because currently Jenkins will firstly name the container as C5, so that is one error that you will get, that it can't name it again with the same name C5 if if the build is rescheduled. Okay, so that is one issue. Another issue with this is that the ports are already in use by the already deployed container. Okay, so we will have to free up the port. So this all these issues will be taken care by the Docker Compose. So I will quickly show you how Docker Compose works in the EC2 console. So here I'm inside my test directory, and I have a compose.yaml file with me. We can see the contents of this. So I specified the version. The YAML is basically a version, the syntax that is used by Docker Compose. Okay, so we need to specify in the same format here. And this is the web service that we are going to use. We need to specify the image. So I have, so here I am inside my EC2 terminal, and I'll show you the content of the YAML file that I have already created here for Docker Compose. So you see the version, and then we inside the services we have defined the web service, and we have specified the image. So I have given my username, and under that I have this image with the latest tag. So Docker Compose will basically pull this image from the Docker Hub, and it will create it on this port. So port 5000 will be mapped to the 3000 port of the EC2 instance. So let's run the Docker Compose command to spin up a container. Let's check if the container is up and running. You see, this container is up, and it has all automatically given it a name, test web 1. So with Docker Compose, we don't need to specify any name for the container, and it will automatically consume the YAML file present inside the directory, and it will spin up a container, and it similarly we can spin down the container. So give the command docker compose down, and it says stopping this container. Great. It has stopped that container. We can check that with the help of docker ps command. The container is not running. So now we will provide the docker compose command here. We first need to spin down the older container, and then we need to spin up the new container. Great. So we have basically provided the solution for these two issues that our pipeline has currently, and now I think we can save this and try to build it again. So it's asking for login. Let me log in again. I'll have to repaste that code. It was not saved. Just let me do it quickly. So let's save this. All right. So we can click on build now, and let's see if the result is as expected. So the cloning stage is successful. We can see the output here. Jenkins is able to clone the repository, and the build stage is also successful, but it has failed on our deployment stage. Let's see what has gone wrong. Correct. So this is what I wanted to show, that because our GitHub repository currently does not have this Docker Compose configuration or the YAML file that is required, so it has thrown this error. Great. So let's go to our GitHub repository and copy paste the code that is required in the YAML file. I will pick that code from here, from our EC2 instance. This is the required code. Here I am on my repository. I'll click on add file. We can name it as compose.yaml. Provide the contents here. And we can commit the changes. So now we can restart the build, and let's see. Great. As you see, this time it has successfully deployed our container. We can quickly check it via doing a curl to our local host and port is 3000. As you see, I'm getting a response from our web app. Now guys, to make this more industry compliant, we will follow the same structure which is followed in the industries. So basically we have a Jenkins file in our GitHub repository itself, and please note that this green tick is there in your case. This means that GitHub is able to reach out to Jenkins and able to send the notifications or the push notifications to it. Great. So now I'm going to make some changes to my GitHub repo, and we will see if Jenkins is getting automatically triggered or not. So currently we see the count of number of builds is 4, and let's try to make some changes in our GitHub repo. We can just say hi from Python app, welcome. Okay, just any dummy stuff here. I'll make my commit. Okay, so we have made a commit, and now let's see if Jenkins is getting automatically triggered or not. You see the count is increased to 5 and a new build is automatically started. And the first step here is declarative checkout SCM. So here Jenkins is basically looking for the Jenkins file inside the uh, GitHub repo so that it can proceed with the build stages. Okay, so we can also go to the console output of this build. So we see started by this user running on Jenkins. It has first cloned the repo, then it says building Docker image, and it has successfully deployed our container as we see here. Great. So that's it for now. And we have successfully deployed our web app on Docker container using EC2 instance. And great. If you were able to follow along with me till this point, then congratulations on successful deployment of your Python app. And if you have faced any issues uh, during the process, you can definitely put it in the comment section and I will try to address them. So guys, thanks for watching and stay tuned with me for such future projects which we will be doing in the upcoming days. Thanks.